Hello, it is finally that time of the year again where we do the mid-year book freakout tag. This is the booktube staple, probably the most famous book tag that goes around every single year, and part of me is just waiting for the year that it doesn't happen and it dies out, but it's been going on every year consistently since I started. This is probably like my fourth or fifth mid-year book freakout tag, so this year I decided I am going to follow in the footsteps of another booktuber who I love. Their name is Jesse the Reader. He revamped it and is calling it the mid-year book check-in or mid-year reading check-in book tag. So I'm going to be following that one this year. Credit to Jesse and the other two creators that created the original book tag, but I wanted to do something different this year as well because I've done it consistently the same tag every year. Some of the questions have been switched out, but I'm still excited to see where I'm at with my reading in the middle of the year. So I'm Andrea. If you don't know me, you should subscribe, like, comment, stick around. We have a good time here, but let's just get into these questions. Number one is, what's the best book you've read so far this year? And I have two. One of them is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. Okay, I love that book so much. It was definitely a big surprise and a shock because I didn't think I was gonna like Christina Lauren at all. I really didn't. But something about that book, it's a romance. It tells the story of Macy and Elliot when they were younger and also as they are adults, and how they used to be best friends, they had a falling out, and how their story plays out when they are reconnected by chance. What got me about this one was the characters and how much they cared about each other and how evident that was on the page from the very beginning, and I just fell in love so fast with this book. But the other one that is my favorite is the one I'm currently reading right now, which is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. That one is definitely going to be one of my all-time favorite books of the year because it is just so good. That one is an adult science fiction type of novel that follows two characters who are creating a video game together, and it spans 30 years of their lives. And so we know them whenever they meet when they're younger, and then as the time goes on, when they build this video game together and their lives take big turns in whatever their life paths go, because they don't, stick around each other for their entire lives, but they kind of go in and out, and they always have this sort of connection. And so they make these video games and become successful on it, and it's just telling their story. I don't know if it's sci-fi or just fiction, but it's sci-fi because they talk about video games, but it's not really so far to me. Maybe it's just fiction. I don't know. I'm gonna have to check. I can't really explain how good it is. I feel like you just have to go in, and if you don't know a lot, that's even better because everything is a surprise. It's just definitely kind of like a character study of the two main characters, Sadie Green and Sam. Sam Mazur is his name. They're so flawed and they have so much uniqueness to them and so many layers, and it's amazing to get to unravel throughout the story. I'm more than halfway through, but I don't want to put it down, but I also don't want to finish. It's one of those books I just want to enjoy the time I'm having with it right now, and it's just amazing. Number two is, what's the most disappointing book you've read so far this year? And that one would have to be Intimacies by Katie Kitamura. That one was a fiction book. It was just a slice of life book about this woman who kind of just leaves her old life and does her own thing. I don't know what it was about it, but I just did not really enjoy it. I thought I would like it a lot, and it was one that I just stumbled upon by myself, and the ratings aren't that good, but I thought maybe it was going to be my hidden gem, and it just wasn't. It was just flat out boring to me, and I didn't enjoy it, and I felt like it didn't have a good payoff with the character and going through her life. Everything was just kind of uninteresting, and the aspects that could have been interesting just didn't take off. It just introduced a lot of different things, a lot of different plots, but there was no payoff at all, and it just wasn't satisfying to finish reading, and I did not like it. Number three is, what's the best book recommendation you've received this year? And this one has to be Book Lovers by Emily Henry from my friend Sarah. She has been wanting me to read this book for so long, and I've seen a lot of other people suggest it, but I tried to read it, DNF'd it after one chapter last year, didn't enjoy it, and then I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna read it this summer. I'm gonna give it another shot and read the whole thing unless it's super terrible. So I did, and I gave it 4.75 stars or 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I really loved it, and I was just being a clown this whole time by ignoring it and not reading it. I like that the main character is kind of more cynical. She's serious. She's not the typical character that is just so happy and go lucky and bright, because I don't relate to that. So I really did enjoy that about book lovers, and I did like the couple. I did like the romance. It was overall good. I'm glad I read it. Number 4 is what was your first DNF of the year? I've had a couple, and I kind of had to think about this because I haven't been writing them down. I've been just not finishing them and forgetting about them. But I know the one that I did was the first book I read, which was Another Dimension of Us by Mike Albo. I DNF'd that one at like over halfway. And it was my first book I read this year. It was an arc, and it just wasn't good. I did not like it at all. It wasn't what it said it would be, and that was the most disappointing thing about it. It was supposed to be a really cool like time travel, different planes, astral projection kind of book. It was supposed to also have 2 different sets of characters, and then they overlapped to try to find one character from like the main storyline. I feel like they just made that premise so that people would read it, and then it's really not that at all. They just had to market it as something like that so people would want to read it. When you really start getting into it, you're like, this has nothing to do with what the synopsis is and what you said it was. So I unfortunately DNF'd that first book of the year. Did not enjoy that. 5 is a new release from this year that you've read and your thoughts on it, good or bad. So for this one, I'm going to talk about House of Marion by JL. This book is coming out in August, so not until after this video is up, but I wanted to talk about it anyway. So House of Marion is a fantasy book, a new fantasy book coming out. I actually got to meet JL when I met Sabata here. JL was there and I really loved her. She was a great person to meet, a great author. She seemed like she would be a good author, somebody that I liked, so I knew I wanted to read her works. And when I got an arc of House of Marion, I was really excited. Now, this book is not bad. I gave it a solid 3-star. It was right in the middle for me. It wasn't spectacular, but it was not horrible, and it was still worth reading. So I definitely think you should check it out. But let me tell you what it's about a little bit. House of Marion is a book about a girl who has secret powers and abilities that she is trying to keep from the Order, which is basically like the bad guys in this magical underworld. And so her mom has kept her hidden all these years from that entire side like of their life, and they just live with regular people that have no magic. But if the Order finds out about her dark magic that she has, they are going to kill her, obviously, because that's the plot of a lot of books, you know, that's just how it goes, and I get it. So that was all fine, but what happens, and this is not spoiling at all or anything, this is the synopsis, but what happens is she ends up going to this magical school, and this is the part where things get a little bit different. To me, this book was a perfect blend of Harry Potter with the different houses, because there's different houses in this book that all have magical abilities and different things they can do. Crave, because the setting and the writing style was very similar to Crave. It maybe didn't have the humor aspect or the drama aspect, but it felt like Crave in that all the different abilities going on was just bringing in a lot of new characters and a lot of different avenues to go down. And then also the selection, because another part of this book, it is comped as like a fantasy meets Bridgerton, because they do go to like balls and dress super fancy, and it's set, you know, kind of regal. So Crave, the selection, and Harry Potter, that's what I felt like it was a blend of. And then it also just has this new, all on its own magic system. And like I said, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't the best, but it was pretty good. The only thing that fell short was I felt like it was repetitive. And another aspect of the book is that there is a hunter at the school trying to find the person who has the dark magic that is alleged at the school, and they obviously have to work together in close quarters, and she has to keep her powers on lock in front of him. So it's honestly good. It just was a bit repetitive for me, and it took me like a long time to get into it, like probably half the book, to be like, okay, I'm here, I know what's going on, I'm gonna want to read the rest of this book. So that was House of Marion. Okay, 6, a book that came out in the first half of the year that you want to read, and a book coming out in the second half of the year that you're anticipating. A book that came out in the first half of the year that I want to read is the one that everybody and their mom is talking about right now, and it's Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Rachel Yarros? Rebecca? I think it's Rebecca. That book is so popular right now in 2023. It's sold out everywhere. I saw one copy at the Walmart in my town and I should have bought it, but I didn't, and then I went back and it's gone. So can't find it anywhere, but I do have it on my Kindle and I want to read it. And I think I started it yesterday. I started just like literally the first page. It didn't completely grip me, but I'm also in the middle of another book, Tomorrow that I love, so I'm kind of just in that. So I feel like it's not fair right now to judge it, but I want to read Fourth Wing because I hope it's good. I mean, if that many people are saying it's good and it's a fantasy and it's a new adult kind of fantasy, I think it's going to be good and I want to try it. And a book that comes out in the second half of the year that I'm anticipating is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. Obviously, because you all know I love Cassie. It's going to be her debut adult fantasy and I really hope it slays. I really hope it's going to be good. And also Lightbringer, which comes out in July. That is the next book in the Red Rising series, the Red Rising saga. I've just been talking about Red Rising all the time and I cannot wait for Lightbringer. I'm so excited. 7 is what's the most beautiful book you've added to your collection or a beautiful book you'd like to own? I got it right here. Let me put this down. It's this one, Silver and the Bone by Alexandra Bracken. This is the Fairy Loot copy, I believe. It is so gorgeous. Look at this. That is unbelievably beautiful just for that. Oh, it's so gorgeous, these sprayed edges. But then you open it and it has some character art in here that is so cute. This is the main character. It's signed by Alex Bracken, who I love so much. She's one of my auto-buy favorite all-time authors. And I have read Silver and the Bone. It is amazing. It has to do with, what is it? King Arthur retelling kind of thing, which I'm not a fan of, but she made me a fan of it. And this is the other main character as well. I love both of those characters so much. Cannot wait for the sequel to come out. And here's what the front looks like without the dust jacket. You could leave it like this too. It's just a gorgeous book. Fairy Loot outdid themselves as always and I love it so much. 8 is what genre have you read the most from this year? I read 41 books. 8 of them have been fiction. 13 of them have been romance. And 20 of them have been fantasy. So fantasy for sure, which is not a surprise. I mostly read fantasy on this channel. We mostly talk about fantasy books. So I've been getting into romance a lot more. So I mean, romance is almost there with fantasy. So I'm really surprised about that. Kind of in my romance girly era. But overall, the most I read was fantasy. And I like that. I'd like to keep it that way. That is the genre that I mostly gravitate to. It's a genre I mostly love, so I hope I always have fantasy as my #1 genre that I read. 9 is, do you feel your reading tastes have changed or shifted at all this year? A new genre you love, a new favorite trope, or a new favorite theme? Kind of going along with number 8, I feel like my reading tastes have shifted to just liking romance a little bit more than I used to and being open to reading a lot of different romances that I may not have in the past instead of just sticking to strictly fantasy series. And I'm glad for that. I've also tried to read and branch out to different genres, but I don't do a very good job at like picking up thrillers or stuff like that. Trope I found that I really have been reading a lot, and this is just like subconsciously, I don't mean to do this, but it's been Best Friends to Lovers this year, and I don't particularly love that trope, but I have been reading it like crazy this year. 10 is, if you set any bookish goals for yourself this year, how are they going? I had a wrapped TBR that I told myself I was going to read every book on it. That didn't go well. I read one, which was The Raven Boys, which I loved. I want to keep reading the series, but the other 2 books are wrapped, so I don't know which one it is. I'm gonna have to wait and find that when I actually get through my wrap TBR. And so my bookish goal, not going well. 11 is, what book format have you been gravitating towards this year? Mostly I've been reading books on my Kindle or on my phone just because I feel like it's been more accessible and easy, but I do still prefer to read physical books over anything, and I feel like the majority I read are physical books, but Kindle and my phone ebooks have just been there for me this year, okay? They have been my best friend. And 12, finally, a book you've read so far this year that you feel embodies the vibe of your reading year. This is kind of hard because my reading year has been all over the place, and none of my books that I've read have really been all over the place in terms of what's the genre is or anything like that, or a mixture of a lot of genres, but I'm gonna say The Isles of the Gods by Amy Kaufman, because in that book we are following a girl who is getting the prince to the Isles of the Gods so he can make a yearly sacrifice. I'm sorry, a quarterly every 25-year sacrifice. Except he was supposed to make it on the 25th year, and now we're on the 26th year because he missed it. And they're late, and things just spiral and are not going good. But then there are still so many good moments in the book, and the characters are good, and it's so entertaining, and I feel like that might just sum up my reading. Like, it's not going like where I thought. We've hit some bumps in the road, you know, but overall it's good, and I loved The Isles of the Gods. I gave it 4 stars. It's gonna be one of my favorite books of the year. The only reason I didn't give it 5 is because I feel like the sequel might be able to one-up the first book, so that's why it's the only reason it's not 5 stars. But I love that book, and I'm happy if that is my vibe for the year. Hopefully the rest of the year stays at a good reading pace. I mean, it's halfway through and I've almost read 50 books, and 50 books is my Goodreads goal. So I know I'm gonna hit that. I know I had a big reading slump. Hopefully I don't hit another one, but I do want to read more quality books throughout the latter half of the year over quantity, and I want to read only books that really pique my interest and that I hopefully rate highly. I want to really learn how to judge what I know I want to read instead of falling into what people like and I feel like I need to read. And I'm not coming at Fourth Wing with that because I feel like I will like Fourth Wing, but there's definitely been some other books that I picked up in the past that I knew I probably wasn't gonna like, and then I didn't. So I'm being more cautious of that for the rest of the year. There's a lot of good books coming out that I can't wait for. So with that being said, that's it for this video. Let me know if you're doing the mid-year book freakout tag, or if you're going to do the mid-year reading check-in. Whatever you're going to do, let me know. Let me know how your reading is going. But that's it. If you want to help support my channel, there are ways to do so down below in the description. If you want to follow any of my social media, that is all linked down below as well. Check out the shorts tab on my channel. I've been making a lot of shorts almost daily, so if you want to chat with me, see what I've been up to, see the content I've been making, I do upload those like every single day, literally. So that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.